Hello there, gamers, streamers, and everybody who needs more LAN ports than you know what to do with. Are you looking for a fast, reliable internet connection with the newest Wi-Fi standard that doesn't break the bank? Then the ASUS RT-BE88U might be what you're looking for. I'm Wanderer001. Let's get into it. For those of you who have seen my review of the predecessor to this review over there in the corner, you might actually mistake this Wi-Fi router for that because nothing about the cosmetics of it have changed at all. It is the exact same form factor with the exact 4x4 antenna setup that the other one had. There are a few changes functionally that I'll point out, but everything else stays the same for this. In fact, the biggest upgrade to this over the predecessor is that it is a Wi-Fi 7 router, which is 4.8 times faster and has 5 times the capacity with lower latency compared to a Wi-Fi 6 router, which that previous model was. One of the big reasons to consider a Wi-Fi 7 router is the multi-link operation. What that will do is take multiple bands and feed data through them as if it's a single band, allowing you to have more throughput than you could with Wi-Fi 6. You also get 16 by 16 multi-user, multi-input, multi-output. And I'm using the actual language instead of the shorthand, so in case you don't know what it is, you actually can understand it a little better. So what that will do is that it supports multiple users transmitting and receiving data at the same time. This is double what you would have with Wi-Fi 6 in that you can have, in my case, I have lots of IoT devices connected to my Wi-Fi router, and previously it would have to send out a signal, bing, 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 bing. Hey, wake up, do you need anything? Wake up, do you need anything? With this setup, you can have a bunch of them connected going, send out this data, 16, receive data, 16. So it helps to speed things up in that case. General hardware, you're looking at 12 inches across with a length of 7 inches, and this does sit at an angle, so at its highest point in the back, you're sitting at about 2 inches high. It does slope towards the front, giving it an aggressive form factor. As I mentioned before, you are looking at a 4x4 for the antenna setup, giving you a total possible throughput of 7,200 megabits per second. That will give you 5,764 on the 5 gigahertz spectrum and 1,376 megabits per second on the 2.4 gigahertz. Notice I did not say 6 gigahertz. This Wi-Fi router does not have a 6 gigahertz band. So that is a trade-off that you're going to get with this as opposed to something you might get with a competitor or a different device. Internally, you are looking at a quad-core 2.6 gigahertz 64-bit CPU with of RAM. This will allow this device to cover a home that is 3,000 square feet. I don't have a home that's 3,000 square feet. However, at my furthest point in my backyard, I can still get a signal from this on the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi spectrum, which is a shorter band than the 2.4. It does pretty well considering it has to penetrate 4 sets of walls to get out to my backyard. One of the great things that ASUS supports is their own internal AI mesh. So the predecessor to this, and the one I had before that, if I needed to, I can set up my own Wi-Fi mesh network using hardware that I already had before. So just because I upgraded this Wi-Fi router because it had Wi-Fi 7 does not mean that my old Wi-Fi router is now something that's going to be chucked. It can become part of my home's mesh network. I can have one directly plugged into my internet, one on my second floor, and then one in my basement, making my home mesh network. Obviously, it would be better if you had a larger home for that, but I'm happy that it is an option for this. On the top of the device, which is what we have been staring at, there's not a lot to look at really. You have your status lights here, as well as your heatsink port up here. What I will say is the heatsink on the top does look remarkably similar to the previous model of this. However, once we look at other places, you'll see some of those changes that have been made. I did try some testing to see what the heat output from this would be like under specific scenarios. When the router is idling, meaning I don't have much through traffic, which is hard to do with 48 different IoT devices, but at its best, I had about 104 degrees up to 114 degrees Fahrenheit. When streaming a 1080 Netflix video for about an hour and a half, I got it up to 112 degrees Fahrenheit. And then with a multi-game setup, my wife and I were gaming and I had a stream going. I had it up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. If we flip things over and take a look at the bottom here, you can see the little rubber feeties and this whole rubber bar across the back, allowing it to sit up off the desk. But you can see the size difference of this heatsink compared to its predecessor. They doubled, almost tripled the size of the heatsink, and I am very happy for that because it helps to distribute it a little more evenly instead of having it concentrated in a small footprint like it had before. If I flip things over to the front, there are some things missing on the front, mainly a toggle for the LED lights there on the front and the USB port. Those have been removed from this model, and some of that has been moved to the back of this, but others have been removed completely and now make you use either the application or web interface. Coming along to either side, you have a set of angled multi-directional antennae, and I will say I like the fact and how these screw in a little better than the predecessor. With the predecessor, you always had to go around this way or else they'd loosen themselves up. With this, I can, to a certain extent, move this forward before it loosens itself up, so I do like that. And then again, you have 4 of them allowing you to really get the direction of your signal to where you want. But this is why you're getting this. You have a plethora of ports, an abundance of ports, more ports than you might know what to do with. In fact, I have one port that I'm not actively using. But coming from left to right, we have our 10 gig WAN/LAN internet port. To the right of that, we have our 10 gig SFP port. Then we have a 2.4 gig WAN port or LAN port. After that, we have a block of 3 2.5 gig LAN ports, or 4 if we include this one here. And then the remainder of our ports, 5, 6, 7, and 8, are all 1 gig LAN ports. So you have your dedicated 2.5 gig and then some lower ones here. They even have a dedicated on LAN 4 here gaming port. So if you've got a game peripheral, that's where you plug that in. To the right of this antenna, we have a reset button kind of hidden back there. We have our USB 3.0 port, our power port, and then this is something they actually changed where it's a flick switch for the power. Kind of like it, kind of don't. It is easier to find, but also easier to bump. Realistically, for me, all of these LAN ports are why I got this over some other options that did have the 6 gigahertz spectrum for a Wi-Fi 7 router, because I wanted all of these baked in. Coming back to the top, let's talk about some speed tests that I ran. I have 1 gig Fios at my home, and if I'm testing on my Pixel 8, which is a Wi-Fi 7 compatible device, obviously, as you might expect, speeds can vary depending on time of day and what's happening, but on my Pixel 8, I was able to get a maximum of 932 down with 193 up. To the router itself, meaning it's bypassing actually sending out the signal, I can get anywhere from 775 on the low side if Verizon's doing some weird stuff, up to 935 for an upload. For a download on the low side, I can get 765 or up to 938. What I have found is when using the Wi-Fi signal that the upload is definitely where this hurts a little more. Your download speeds are going to be great, but that upload, I feel that 6 gigahertz band might have helped a little bit with that. With the hardware out of the way, there are multiple ways to set up and interact with this, and honestly, I am not a fan of apps on my phone with interfacing with hardware like this, but you might have to for some of the things that we talked about a little earlier, such as these lights, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to have to boot up a web interface every time I want to manipulate my lights. Let me show you what the application is like. This is the application for the ASUS RT-BE88U Wi-Fi 7 router. Up at the top, there is some information which is blurred out, but it gives the name of the Wi-Fi router itself, as well as an IP address and the Wi-Fi network it's on. To the right of that, there is a quick toggle for the ability to switch to specific modes right from the application, which is useful, but also not as useful as I would like because there's settings elsewhere, which I'll show you, which are more useful for that. Just above that, there is a plus sign. Selecting this will allow you to set up a new router, add a mesh node, add a guest portal, add guest network, kids network, IoT network, VPN network, and multi-link operations, all from this little quick area right here. The bell icon is for any news or information. There is a setting right there, which we can access from another location as well. So we're gonna hit back. Here we've got information, and then over here on the left-hand side, we've got a quick toggle. This is gonna give you some information about your device. Here's the name of it. Well, what do we want? We've got more. So we have theme. So if I wanted to, I could change it to this red theme. I was using the Techno Blue, which is the default. Then we come back over here. It's got About, ASUS Support, Software Insight, FAQ, Feedback, and Visit Web GUI. Now, I did that quick side panel really quick because there's not a lot in there. The front page, what you're seeing in real time is data usage passing through my Wi-Fi router, and that is this first icon right here. This is internet status. If I change, this is air mesh nodes. If I had multiple nodes, they would show up here and I would be able to select them and then make adjustments to that node. To the right of that is game mode. This I don't particularly care for because if I turn game mode on, all that's actually doing is turning game mode on for the mobile phone itself, not game mode on the Wi-Fi router. This now has the top priority, so I'm going to turn that off because I don't need game mode for a handheld device. And notice this image in the upper right hand corner changed because I changed the type of action that I was trying to do. So if I change that to game, now this is gaming. Pop that from work from home and the icon continues to change. We're going to come back to our general, and then you saw that quick spike up when it was ramping up for the mobile gaming. Here we have devices. There's a lot of information on here that I don't want to necessarily show, but it shows connection type, wired connection, whether it's currently on, data being used at that time, but also IP addresses. So a lot of this, it's blurred out. Not a lot that you can see here. Next is Insight. So these are some of the things that you could do from the application. You have remote connection, whether you want to be able to get in that way or not. I have it disabled. You have secure connections, so you can change to HTTPS protocol, which you can see, I'm doing that right now, so I don't have to worry about that. Here are threats blocked, so if I click on that, it'll actually kind of let me know, hey, these are things that have happened, and Trend Micro saying, these devices are the ones that are causing the problems. Here's what's going on, and then exactly when it happened and what it was. So it is useful. I kind of like having that there. Got port status, so if you click on that, it lets you know what's going on. Location, optimization. These are quick toggles for some things. We've got up here in the upper right hand corner, reboot, factory, and unlink with this phone. We've got notices because, well, you know, some of my ports on the back aren't currently on, and then some of them are also not operating at the optimal throughput because, well, I don't have something in there that's taking full effect of it. And then we've got LEDs on or off. There are no buttons on the Wi-Fi router to do this anymore. You have to actually come in here to do that. Location, WAN IP, firmware, MAC address, lots of other things that need to be blurred out, lots of things that need to be blurred out that are time consuming. We have family members, so from here you could set up without having to do too much extra on your end, the age of the person. So if I come in here and I would just go blah 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 blah, that's going to be my person. I'm going to hit next, select what devices are associated with them, and then set up an off schedule, set up an online schedule. So if I do set up an off schedule here, weekdays, weekends, set times, things of that nature, really good. You don't have to worry about doing it yourself. It takes care of it at the device level if you wanted it to be like that, so you didn't have to necessarily create a new Wi-Fi network for an individual. Moving over to family, you kind of saw me do that really quickly. It is setting up a specific person and their devices and limiting what they can do. I like it. It's good that it's there. Settings, these are not quite as extensive as you get on the router itself, but you've got quick internet setup, air mesh setup, guest network. So from here you can see I've got my two guest networks and you can toggle them on and off from here. You can hit your plus sign and then what type of guest network do you want? So VPN network, IoT kids, guest network, or guest portal. If you select a guest network, it's going to walk you through the steps of creation of that guest network. So you'll give it an SSID name right there, what type of system it is, opened or closed, Wi-Fi scheduling, so you can schedule either how long people have access to it, what they have access to, and then if you want any limiters in place right there. You've got quick access from here. You also have quick access to your air protection. It's kind of what we looked at before. What do you want to have happen? Turn things on and off. And again, I look at this as more of the health of my Wi-Fi router rather than the actual like using a lot of this stuff, because I'd rather go in and configure those on the actual computer. It's just easier for me. You've got diagnostics, so network diagnostic and traffic statistics. Won't show you that, lots of information in there. Parental controls, well, you can set up blocking a device, but I don't actually have any people that I need to worry about that for, so they're nice that they're there. It'll allow you to limit adult content, things of that nature. Gaming, you've got OpenNet and then mobile gaming mode. Mobile gaming mode, you saw me before, it limits it to the device that you're on, and then OpenNet, you gotta have to set things up here in order to get that up and going. You've got QoS, so I can come in here. This is why I said I like this one a little better, because here I can adjust what takes priority. So if I turn this on or off, I can shuffle around rather than picking a single one that I want to have active. Bandwidth limiter, you can set up bandwidth limiter if you want. You also have internet speed. So if you wanted to see how your internet speeds fare, this is what you get. This is directly to the Wi-Fi router itself, not traveling over your actual Wi-Fi. Gets you a little closer to what you should be getting with your router, and that's all there. We've got USB, so we've got our options for FTP, enable FTP, allow anonymous login, Samba, if you want to turn those on or off, and then eject USB right from there. Wi-Fi, share your Wi-Fi, wireless settings, Wi-Fi deny list, and Wi-Fi eco mode, which if you're getting something like this, I don't know why you would do that. But right now I don't have any denied hardware. And if I wanted to go in there, I can manage my Wi-Fi settings. Similarly, you saw me come here before. You've got some LAN options. You can do IP binding there. And if we come to our WAN, we've got options, port forwarding, DNS setting. Kind of happy they let you do that. ASUS, DDNS, dual WAN. This, again, will allow you to make some adjustments on the fly while you're here. VPN, you've got VPN servers, which you can select a VPN server right from the phone if you wanted to, without actually logging into the software for this. You can turn on your preferred method, and then VPN Fusion is also there. Connect with Alexa, connect with Google Assistant. I don't see why you would do that. I don't do that. Router information, firmware upgrade if you wanted to without having to log in, or if you didn't set it up to do that automatically, you can come in here and then tap to have it check for firmware. System settings, as you might imagine, system information, notification settings. So I don't have notifications turned on. I'd have to do that at my phone level. Don't want to. So you've got ASUS notifications, firmware, device connectivity, infected devices, all Wi-Fi radios turn off. I mean, it gives you a lot of options. Network tools, you've got Wake on LAN. From here, you can pick a device on your network and then select for Wake on LAN. Account binding, you can bind this Wi-Fi router and this mobile app to a single account, whether you want it to be Google, your ASUS ID, Facebook, or other. Those are your options. And then you've got other ASUS related apps. And that is everything that we can do for the ASUS RT-BE88U using the ASUS application. Now that we've seen most of what we can do with the application, I prefer a web interface for most things when interfacing with a Wi-Fi router. What I'll let you know is I actually kind of like the interface that ASUS gives you for their Wi-Fi routers. I like the fact that the router itself can have up to 5 SSIDs, that it has commercial grade AI Protect Pro by Trend Micro, which is pretty much firewall, antivirus, things like that built right in, one-tap security scans, and a comprehensive VPN, all built right in. But let me show you all of that in the web interface. This is the web user interface for the ASUS RT-BE88U, and I'll show you just about everything. Some things will be blocked off because sensitive information, as you might imagine. When we first launch the web user interface, it's going to drop us on our wireless security. Over here on the right-hand side, we can see wireless information. Right now, it is on Smart Connect. I have 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. You can toggle this off. Just know if you do that, you're going to lose some of the benefits of the Wi-Fi 7 router. We have our network name, our authentication method, our encryption, and then the passkey. On this area too, if I change the tab, we can get status. This will give us information about all of our cores as well as the RAM. It's saying I'm using a lot of the RAM, and that's partially because of the USB hard drive that I have in here. It does not like it very much, and it is spiking my usage. Normally, it's not like this. If we come up to internet status, which is the first option here, it would show you the WAN IP, which is, as you might imagine, blocked off. But if I select this, it's going to show, again, more information that's masked off down here. But you can see internet connection, toggle that on or off, and then enable dual WAN on or off. Now, if we come down this way, we're going to put things back to our status here. We've got two things. We have, over here on the right, our USB 3. This is the hard drive that I have in there. It's going to give us the name. If I select on this, it's going to give us some information. Model, available space, total space, media server, I can do that, or AI disk wizard, safely remove, I could select the remove right there, and then USB mode, do I want this to 2 or 3, and then I can apply. There is a health scanner, so I can rescan because there was nothing wrong with this, but I can set up a frequency if I have this hard drive always plugged in, and then I can format this hard drive if I wanted to. I can give it a name, change the type, and then format status. I will not be doing that, but what I will do is safely remove the hard drive and give this a second to reload itself. And now that that hard drive has been removed, you can see things are lower. If I scroll down,
on this right-hand panel, which I did not do before because this was already pegged out, you could see it will show you your port status. So I've got the 10 gigabit WAN LAN port in usage. I also have the 2.5 also in use. The green icon means that they're, taking advantage of the full potential. And then these yellow indicate not taking advantage of the full potential. This is yellow letting me know, hey, there's a problem, notice. And then I've got several that are not currently plugged in. That is the white indicator. If I select the icon here, it's going to give us information about, hey, what I might want to look at. If I turn things off even more, now turned off things that are plugged into these, except for this one here, and you'll notice kind of baseline what I'm getting. So about 896 megs. If we come over to the left-hand side now, we can see our client list. So this is everything that's taking advantage of wireless network, and I can select view the list. There are 42 clients, and they will show up on the right-hand side. We've got online, wired, and wireless, and I'll break it down between the 5 and the 2.4 gigahertz, and an icon down there to cycle through them. Obviously, you can't see them because, well, MAC addresses and things of that nature. On the left-hand side, again, under our clients, we have AirMesh. So if I had a AirMesh node set up, its information would show up here, and I could see its status. Over on the far left-hand side, if I select AirMesh, that's actually going to bring me into nodes. Notice I don't have any set up. Over on the right-hand side, it's showing me the client list where I could see all wired and wireless, and I have 39 online. Shows me the firmware where this particular access point is. I can change to network. It's going to give me some information about the network. Some is blocked out. And then management. Oh, guess what? LED, on or off. Yes, you actually have to come in here like you did in the other spot to turn on and off the LED. You can add an AirMesh node, and it's going to bring you into how to do that. And then you have optimization. I don't have any nodes set up right now, but I do have the predecessor to this where I could use it as a node. And then we've got our system setting. You have Ethernet backhaul mode. You've got roaming blacklist, system restart, and factory default, and then system reboot. Next down our list on the left, we have guest network. By default, it will ask you when you walk through the setup process to set up an IoT network. That's my network right here. And then here, I have a network that I set up for my work from home. This one is a mixture of 2.4 and 5, and this one is just a 5. You can toggle them on and off from here, and then you can select add a network, or you can select a defined network over here on the right. If I add a network by selecting one of these over here, I can do guest network. You can give it a name. You could say this is open or requires a password. You can set a Wi-Fi schedule if you wanted. So one-time access for how long, or schedule, what type of schedule, hours and time, all day, days of the week, and then 2.4 and 5 gigahertz air mesh. And then down there is a bandwidth limiter and whether this has access to the internet. However, we can also do a specified one for kids, giving it a name, password, Wi-Fi schedule. If I turn that off, away this information. So scheduling weekdays, weekend, kind of when they can access. There's a message board. This is a portal description. Here we go. Or configuration like the other one. And then the last predetermined one, you got your IoT one, you set that up when you first get it. You can do a VPN. And then for the VPN, you would have to go to settings, which are accessible over here on the left, which we'll get to eventually. Moving down, we have our AI Protect. And here you can see I have this enabled. It's through Trend Micro. You've got router security. This is risky because there's two things that I have turned on that it doesn't like, but malicious site block, two-way IPS, and then infected devices. I have any of that problem. Now notice that's only one of the many tabs. That's just networking. You've got malicious site blocking, and this is going to give you information and the device that did it, and then two-way IPS and infected devices. So notice it breaks out everything that you had on your main list into individual tabs as well. Coming down, parental controls. Well, I don't have any people who need parental controls, but if I wanted to, I could turn this on and it's going to reboot the network. And then from here, I can select individual items or MAC addresses and then what I want to block. Adult content, you can expand to have several things that YouTube probably doesn't like, so I'm not going to show you that one. Instant messaging, though. So I could select all instant messaging, or I could say internet, telephone, instant messaging, blogs, mobile. I could pick what I want it to do. Same thing with file sharing or streaming and entertainment. Do I just want them to have access to internet radio and Netflix and things of that nature and no games? You have lots of options. You also have the plus sign. So once you get everything set, you have to plus in order to actually apply things. We're just going to toggle that off because I don't need it. You also have time and schedule. So you can select enable block all devices or enable scheduling. So again, every time you make a change on this, it's going to refresh things. But what this will allow you to do is select specific item to block and say, no, I don't want you to do this during this time frame. It's very powerful. I like all the options they give you for parental controls if you need them. Coming next, we have adaptive QoS. Here we can see these are all my things that are on. Right now, nothing should be using any bandwidth, but it would show you in real time here, and you can have the analysis on or off. QoS, well, if I turn this on or off, it will allow me to select what I want. Am I going to prioritize gaming, media, web surfing, learning from home, working from home, or a customization that I set? I have been using the work from home when my wife is home and I am at home working to prioritize my equipment and stuff that I'm using. Web history will allow you to see the web history of any item that is attached to your network if you have that turned on. Here we have internet speed. This is going to give you a better idea of the actual speeds coming into your networked device because Wi-Fi, very dependent on things. So if I select go, it's going to run a test and it's going to give me my download and it's going to give me my upload. Now we can see I should be getting about 1 gig up and down, but right now I have some weather going on. It doesn't look like I'm getting the full 900 up and down, but I'm getting a respectable 800 down, 900 up. That's not bad. And once this is done, it will give you information. Hey, what level are you at, ping rate, and your jitter. And then here you can actually see the history of me running this internet speed test. All right, we have traffic analyzer coming down over here on the left-hand side. Well, yeah, I was doing a lot of work that day, so it's gonna give me a spike, but it's gonna show you traffic. What's using? It's gonna show you a pie chart, MAC address kind of blocked out, but letting you know what's eating up all of your bandwidth. And if I change this to a monthly, it's gonna give me a better idea of what's going on. Total traffic for me right now is 437 gigs. And then if I hover over a specific period, it's gonna let me know. And it has used percentage, even though I do not have a cap. Traffic monitoring, if I do this, it's gonna let me know in real time, hey, what's using what and where the bandwidth is coming from. So if I select wired, it'll show me all my wired stuff. If I do wireless, I can select 2.4 or the 5. It's going to give me all that information here. A lot of things turned off right now to not have them interfere with what I'm recording. Here we have gaming. This is one of the things that you're getting because this is an Asus product is, hey, you're getting it because gaming, even though it's a self-gaming Wi-Fi router, honestly. You have gaming prioritization on or off. And if we select add, we can specify what device we want as a gaming device and boost that. We also have the mobile gaming boost, so we can download ASUS app for that. And then we have our open NAT. So if I select go right here, it's going to walk us through setting up our open NAT. Now I can turn on port forwarding. I can add to games if I wanted to. Here it's giving you kind of a sampling of games that you use for open NAT. Or I can select plus, and this would be manually creating this and then selecting OK. But all of that is accessible to you under your open NAT. If I do USB application, well, here we go. When I do a USB into the Wi-Fi router, I can set it up as an AI disk where I could share files through the internet. I can set it up as a server. I can also set up a network printer. I can set up a 3G or a 4G wireless dongle. I can also set it up as Time Machine, or I can set up a free download manager. I would have to install it, but all of this would allow me to choose what happened, what I plugged into that USB port. AI Cloud 2.0, well, I don't use this, I have it turned off, but this would allow you to have attached storage or smart access. There's some settings there, not going to show you that. We're moving on. Just know that it's there if you need it. There you can see our wireless settings, kind of show you basically what's there. Some things might be blocked off. That's just our general. We've got our WPS information, WDS wireless bridge. There's a lot of sensation, not really going to show you that. Wireless MAC filtering, radius settings, professional settings. If you really want to get into things, kind of glance that really quick if you want to see. I have the performance keyed all the way up because why not? Roaming block list and MLO or multi-link operation. This is mixed feelings about this. Don't have any devices that fully take advantage of this, and I do feel like my devices kind of drop off and on a little more than I would like. LAN information, as you might imagine, sensitive information. Sensitive information, we've got IPTV switch control and VLAN if we wanted it. Kind of block some of that out, but we can select access trunk. I mean, there's a lot that you can do, which I appreciate, but does not lend itself well to showing on video. If we come into our WAN, kind of quickly glossing over what's here. This is the important one that I like, which is the DNS server. You can assign specifically, coming in and typing in your own, or you can use some of the pre-existing ones. So use your ISP. Don't recommend that. AdGuard, I've been testing out, and it's actually very good in that it blocks ads on my mobile device. Doesn't stop your YouTube stuff, but also blocks ads on Roku devices on the splash page, not on Netflix or Hulu, things of that nature, because they're built in. But you've got other types. So you've got AdGuard, blocks advertising, adult content. You've got clear browsing. It gives you a little information of what it does. You've got Quad 9, blocks malicious sites. This is something that you really need to pop over and do if you haven't played with the DNS. Here we've got our WAN. There are your settings for that. If you are interested for triggering, again, just kind of popping through things so that you can see them in the video, and for me later when I forget where stuff is. WAN virtual server, port forwarding, DMZ, DTNS, and then NAT pass-through information. And then coming down, we have Amazon Alexa, which I see no purpose in doing, but you could if you wanted to. I don't know why. IPv6 and enable, disable, set it up. VPN, you've got some predetermined VPNs here. EPTP, OpenVPN, IPsec VPN, WireGuard VPN. And if you turn any of these on or off, you will get information over here in the setup process. You've got VPN Fusion. So if you wanted to add a profile, you could do that. And then InstaGuard, on or off. All for our VPN. Firewall, on or off. General information, URL filtering, keyword filtering, and then network service filtering. Just give you an idea of what's there. Administration, here we have our operational mode. System information, which there's way too much stuff to actually show. That's sensitive, so we're not going to. Firmware upgrade, you can automatically set the firmware to upgrade at specific times. This is great because I didn't fall behind in my firmware upgrades, but I like the fact that this is here and will do it for you. You also have the ability to up here. If you have an update for firmware, it'll show up here, but this will also give you status of things. Restore, save, upload settings, feedback, privacy information, and then we have our system logs, which I will black out. General logs, DHCP, IP6, routing tables, port forwarding, and connection. So we'll be showing you the rest of those. And then we've got our networking tools. So you've got network analysis. You can do ping, traceroute, and NS lookup. We've got our net stat, wake on LAN, and then smart connection rules. That's just about everything that we can do with the web user interface for the Asus RT-BE88U. Yes, I know I blocked out a lot of stuff and didn't go super in depth. There's a balance to be had when showing this type of information online. If there's something that I glossed over and you'd like to see it, let me know and I'll be happy to add that in.
There is a lot that you can do with the web UI for this. And I showed you all that I could with some things blacked out. I know I skipped over some of the more technical areas. I'm trying to keep this as broad as possible for people who aren't necessarily tech heads or gamers, but you did see gamers out there. There are a lot of gaming functionalities built into this Wi-Fi router, even though this is not Asus's ROG series of Wi-Fi routers where it looks like a spider in attack mode. This is a little more subtle. Yes, it's going to stand out compared to other antenna-less Wi-Fi routers, but that's okay. I like the directionality as a trade-off for that and those extra features. But with a Wi-Fi router or a gaming router, you might be concerned with actual power usage of it. Well, what I can tell you, when the Wi-Fi router is idling, again with my 48 plus or minus IoT devices just sitting on it, it sits at about 13.2 watts of power. Streaming that 1080 Netflix video, I got it up to 14.2 watts of power. And then gaming, again, that multi-game setup, my wife and I's computers, both of them are gaming computers, and then streaming that Netflix video all at the same time, taxed it to about 15 watts of power. It's going to eat up a little power, but not as bad as you might expect. With there being a lot to like about this, there are a few drawbacks in my opinion. Let me share those with you so you have them as a data point. First being, the lack of the 6 gigahertz band is definitely going to be off-putting for a lot of people. You have to have equipment on the other end that can support that 6 gigahertz band, but if you do, this might not be the router you're looking for. It gets a little warmer than I would like, even with that giant heatsink there, because of the angle of this. In fact, I previously put extender there to kind of lift it up to help with airflow, and I did that again with this router, and that mitigates the problem. So if you're putting this on a heat sensitive tabletop, just be aware of that. Some of the things software wise is that it channel hops a little more regularly than I would like it to do, especially when using the multi-link. It definitely switches from the 5 gig side to the 2.4 a little too frequently with the default settings. You can change that, however, in the settings, but it's going to require a lot of play to figure out what works best for you. And the last con, in my opinion, is that even with the lack of the 6 gigahertz band, this is still not a cheap Wi-Fi router in any way, shape, or form. Yes, it is a Wi-Fi 7 router. It is one of the earlier to market Wi-Fi 7 routers, but because this is also a gaming router, this raises the price tag. So if you're a non-gamer and want all those LAN ports in the back, you have to ask yourself, are the gaming extras that this does worth the price tag for those extra LAN ports in the back? Overall, while it's not without a few drawbacks, the overall performance and value make this Wi-Fi router a strong consideration for gamers, streamers, and anyone looking for the newest Wi-Fi standard while saving a little money over its competitors without sacrificing performance. Because of that, I can strongly recommend, if this sounds like the Wi-Fi 7 router you've been looking for, I will have a link for where you can pick it up for yourself in the description area below. If you appreciate the time and effort that goes into making comprehensive videos like this, make sure to hit that like button to help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here and want to be notified of my next review, hit that subscribe button. Still not sure if this is the right Wi-Fi router for you? On screen now, you'll see 2 other Wi-Fi routers that I've reviewed in the past to help you make a more informed decision for yourself.